How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm Kenneth Grunfelder, along with Ben Upson. Second consecutive day that we are hosting a show together. How about those New York Knicks? That is what we are going to talk about today. A unbelievable win last night. Probably the greatest playoff win I think we've seen since we started watching this team. They win 108-105 in overtime, and they take a one game to nothing lead over the Celtics. And yeah, it was an unbelievable game. We talked about the Pistons series rather yesterday, and how that was a roller coaster and that was such a grind, and that just like took the life out of us because of just how entertaining it was and how gutsy, it seemed each win had to be for the Knicks. And that's exactly what this game was yesterday. And this is coming off of a regular season where the Knicks did not beat the Celtics at all. They went 0-4 against them. And they were down by as much as 20 points last night. And you thought, yep, here we go. This is what it's going to end up being, this kind of series. But that did not happen. The Knicks came back. They won the game in overtime. And this was a team win, I felt like. You could point to pretty much everybody in the starting lineup and point to crucial points in the game where each guy really shined for the most part. And then you got some key contributions off the bench from some players as well. This was an overall a great team win. Now, you could also point to the Celtics and say, they took too many threes. We'll get into that. And that was kind of one of the reasons why they lost the game. They were very poor from the three-point line. Polar opposite of what happened on opening night. But, I mean, we talked about it yesterday, Ben. You know, we thought at most they could probably get one. You said maybe even two wins. I said one is probably even too much, but they got it done. And we do have to remember it is just one game. But the fact that they were able to get this done in Boston, you hope that, leads to more. And this is a very competitive series. But a very good win for the Knicks last night. And let's hope this continues. Ben, what are your thoughts on this game from last night?
Well, Kenny couldn't put it any better. I mean, you just basically spewed off a lot of my similar thoughts. I mean, specifically the team aspect of the win is what really gets me, is that everybody in that lineup last night for the Knicks, all the talk going about how they have no depth, they have no chance, they're 0-10 against the top teams in the NBA this season. This is going to be a sweep, a gentleman's sweep. We heard all that. But the Knicks didn't care. They persevered through one of the most difficult situations that they've had all season, really, last night, and they found a way to pull this out, which is pretty miraculous. Um, I said yesterday, I was like, we need Brunson and Towns like all the way, for the series. That was going to be the only way. But it wasn't just those two last night. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, even Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart were making, impacts on this game last night. And Deuce McBride played one of his better games of the postseason as well, which I didn't see that one coming either. Just the fact that the Knicks got all this contribution from everybody last night is such an encouraging sign, because I don't think any of us saw this team effort coming, when we were talking about this series yesterday. I mean, some of the national media was already basically writing the Knicks off, that, they just don't have it. They don't have the bench and whatever. And look, down 16 at the half, I mean, I certainly didn't feel great. I mean, because Karl Anthony Towns at that point was in foul trouble, and so was Josh Hart. Both of them had 3 fouls early in the second quarter. And to think that Towns was on the bench for close to 15 minutes in this game, and the Knicks still found a way to pull it out, it's just purely incredible. Now, you mentioned about the Celtics three-point game. This is the way this team plays basketball. They live and die by the three-point shot, and, most of the times they're really efficient. Last night they were not. I believe they set a franchise record for most missed threes in a playoff game with 45. They shot 15 of 60 from three. And I said they usually take 40 to 50 threes. Well, they took 60 last night. So this is the way the Celtics play basketball. But the thing that just baffled me is I don't know why they weren't attacking downhill trying to get in the paint when Towns was in foul trouble. Because Towns was getting these, I wouldn't say ticky tack fouls, but definitely, minimal contact fouls, which are usually called in the NBA. And it was just like, how are you not changing up your strategy? I think, honestly, the two people that Boston can look at from last night and say, well, they were really good. I mean, Drew Holiday got a lot of offensive rebounds for this team. He had 16 points in the game. And, I mean, Tatum was pretty quiet. I mean, 23 and 16, but he shot 7 of 23 from the field and definitely missed some clutch shots down the stretch. Jalen Brunson outplayed Jason Tatum down the stretch of that game last night. And that's a big key, too. So you can look at this both ways. You could say, well, the Knicks, played really well, got everybody contributing to this win. It was a balanced effort. This is exactly what they needed. And yes, but you can also look at the other side, like you said, well, the Celtics just didn't play to their full potential. They didn't have Kristaps Porzingis, who's out with that illness, might not play in game 2 on Wednesday. Didn't shoot the 3-ball well. They out rebounded the Knicks too in the end, which was impressive. So you could say the Celtics didn't really play a great game and only lost by 3, but I'm not looking at it that way personally. I think it's just more impressive that the Knicks were able to persevere through early foul trouble, down by 20 in the third quarter, and had probably their best playoff win since 1999. it was an unbelievable watch, and just the fact that they've gotten the first game in this series. I talked about it yesterday about setting the tone. Now they've set the tone. So Boston's going to be the one feeling the pressure the most in game 2. I don't care what anybody says. And at least for the people who were starting to say this was the Knicks' funeral, they've at least earned some respect in the series. So whatever happens from here, at least we know that this is likely going to be a very competitive series the rest of the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I hope that's what ends up being the case. But yeah, I mean, just credit to this team and how they battled. OG Anunoby, like you said, I mean, what a pickup he was last year. I mean, what he's doing now, and now after this game 1, and that's the guy that really, stepped up and was that second, option behind Brunson. And Jalen Brunson was pretty quiet for a majority of the game, wasn't really doing much. And, when you look at when the Knicks started to make a run at the comeback, Towns wasn't really a factor in that run. And then also Brunson was also on the bench for a little bit too. And then he came back in and he hit those 2 threes, and you can't believe it. I mean, that's why he was, the clutch player of the year. And I don't know how you felt. I mean, I have an idea of how you felt, but when they drew up that final play at the end of regulation, and it was a great play design, and Brunson misses that, you say to yourself, how does that not go in? I thought the Knicks were done at that point. And one of our friends said in our group chat that the Celtics are just going to, destroy the Knicks now in overtime. That's not exactly what he said, but, that's basically what he was alluding to. I thought that was it. I thought the Celtics were going to take over in overtime, and that was going to be it. And it was going to be another tough loss. And how many times have we seen losses like that with our teams? Where they pull off a comeback, they're playing a good half or whatever, and they come up just short. The game goes into overtime or goes into extra innings, and then they end up losing. But that didn't happen. The Knicks played really well in overtime. And Mikal Bridges, who was not great pretty much the whole game, had a great overtime. He has the steal that leads to the and one by OG Anunoby. He has the three-pointer in the corner. OG finds him. He hits that clutch 3, and then he has the steal. The Celtics don't even get a shot off at the end of the game. Now, everybody was freaking out in the chat because we all thought that Karl Anthony Towns fouled Jaylen Brown as he was, putting up that three-point shot, but it was before he took the shot. So he didn't take those 3 free throws. And we were losing our minds because, Jaylen Brown probably is going to make all 3 of them, and then we're going into double overtime. But that ended up not happening. But yeah, again, that just goes back to what I was saying about the team win. even though Mikal Bridges was not good throughout the whole game, he came up big in overtime. So at least for one game, we could say, hey, that's why the Knicks got Mikal Bridges for things like that. And like I said, OG, very good game. I mean, from 3-point range, he was very good, hitting those clutch threes when he needed to. Brunson. But yeah, Karl Anthony Towns had a rough game. That's probably the one guy you could look at and say, wasn't great, but also he was in early foul trouble, like you said. So hopefully better games are ahead for him. And the Celtics, they're a little banged up. I mean, Porzingis, like you said, the illness could be out for game 2. Also, Hauser got hurt, so that's another guy that they lost in this game. But yeah, I mean, we're just gonna enjoy this while we can. I mean, I think we all could put things into perspective. Just because the Knicks won game 1 does not mean that they're gonna go on and they're gonna win this series in 5 games or they're gonna sweep the Celtics. It's not gonna happen. The Celtics are gonna play a much better game in game 2, you would imagine. But that's the best case scenario, honestly, for the Knicks, is to go back to the Garden with this series tied at 1 game apiece. I mean, if they're up 2-0 going back to the Garden, that would be great, but I don't see that happening. I think the Celtics are going to play a much better game. And yeah, it is interesting that they didn't change up their strategy and try to attack the basket and try to get Cat to foul out of the game, but that's what they did. And the Knicks came away with the win. So I'm very happy with that win from last night. But like I said, it's just one game. We got to put that into perspective. Take it one game at a time. But what a start, though.
Yeah, and clearly, the Celtics want to stick to that game plan of, shooting threes, and I don't mind them for doing that, but it just definitely caught me off guard. And yeah, so alluding to your point about if the Knicks somehow got game 2, if the Knicks get game 2, I mean, that would be just insane, going to the Garden up 2-0. Like there were people out there who were thinking that, okay, the Knicks could definitely get 1 game, maybe 2 games in the series. Not like the, Celtics fans who were like, get the brooms out. This is going to be a sweep, all that jazz. But nobody thought that, a 2-0 potential could be in the cards, which it is right now for at least the next 36 hours. But the Knicks already completed the goal in my mind. It's, if you can just get 1 on the road and then come home to the Garden, anything's possible. That's the position that they sit in right now. And if you're the Celtics, I mean, they're not going to waver. They're going to respond. They're the defending champions. Joe Mazzulla is one of the greatest coaches in the NBA currently, and he knows how to adjust. He's got a high basketball IQ. And this team's not going to waver at all. I expect the Celtics to come out roaring in game 2. I think they're going to be ticked off, and they're definitely going to want to, really strike back with vengeance after a game they felt like was stolen from them last night. Personally, obviously the teams that are the winners of game 1 on the road get put in a bad spot in game 2s. I'm pretty sure teams off a loss in game 1 have like 16. They're like 16-5, I think, in game 2, something like that. I saw the stat this morning. But the Celtics are going to respond, just like in the opposite series last night with the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, which was a ridiculous finish as well.
2 very good games last night.
Yeah, and the NBA playoffs have been very, very thrilling. Now, the other point I was going to bring up, too, about Mikal Bridges is Mikal Bridges isn't going to be clearly the third guy for the Knicks offensively. But what he is doing right now, and the role that he should be involved in, is making these big-time plays down the stretch. If you think back to Game 6 against Detroit, I think I mentioned it yesterday. He gets that huge tip-in layup to tie the game. And last night, those 5 minutes of overtime were some of the best minutes of basketball that he's played so far in a Knicks uniform. It's not even close. I mean, just the incredible hustle play on the sideline to, save that ball from going out of bounds and create the OG Anunoby dunk back the other way, followed up with an and one at the end of it. Then you have that corner three to put them up 6 with 2.5 minutes left. And at that point, it's like, oh my God, the Knicks might actually win this game. And then at the end, not even letting Jaylen Brown get a shot off. And Jaylen Brown is a very good perimeter shooter. And it almost felt like in that moment, if he was able to line up, that'd be a shot he would make and it would go to double overtime. I just had a feeling. So the fact that the smaller Mikal Bridges was able to rip it away from Jaylen Brown and end this game last night was just, it was a fitting end to what was just a ridiculous comeback. And the thing I was always saying about the Knicks, I think honestly, the Pistons made this team stronger because the Pistons played such a, physical brand of basketball, much like the Knicks. But the Celtics weren't locking down on the Knicks defensively last night. The Celtics definitely missed some rotations, and they weren't necessarily, locking down. I mean, granted, down the stretch, Jalen Brunson, this is what's even more impressive about this game. Jalen Brunson, after that whole fourth quarter takeover and everything, he didn't score in the last 9 minutes of the game, counting overtime last night. Didn't score a single point. That's really the only time I saw the Celtics lock down defensively is when they, were starting to, double team Brunson in some situations to try and take him out, which opened up that space for Anunoby and Bridges getting out to the corner for that three. That's why other guys stepped up when they saw, the spots to exploit the Celtics defense. And Tom Thibodeau catches a lot of flack in general, I think, for some of his, coaching decisions and everything. Last night, I think he coached that game almost to a T. Like, it takes a lot of guts to say, yeah, we're going to sit Karl Anthony Towns for 10 minutes in the second quarter and, completely lose what was a 6-point game at one point and let Boston go on a 13-3 run to end the half. And it's just the bounce back in this game was just incredible. I'm still in shock from it. Like I can't even believe it happened watching it live last night. And it just feels so good. Like there's something different about New York versus Boston. Like it doesn't matter that this isn't a conference finals. It doesn't matter that this is, the ALCS like 2003, when Booney hit that walk-off homer. Like it doesn't matter what round, what sport, it's just Boston versus New York. And it's going to be this way for forever. I mean, and now it's adding a little bit more juice back into the sporting realm because this is the first time since, the Boombox and Bronxy the Turtle and, the Yankees going up to Boston and losing the 21 wildcard game. If you're looking at last playoff series, if you're looking at last playoff series, of course, was the horrific 2018 ALDS, which we all want to wipe from our memories as well. The last time New York beat Boston in a playoff environment was, guess when? The 2013 playoffs when the Knicks took out the Celtics. So,
and they almost blew a 3-0 lead they had in that series.
Yeah,
it was getting a little dicey.
It got slippery down the stretch. But as you said, let's not overreact. This is one game. You can't read too much into it. Like I said, if the Knicks win game 2, then we can start taking things more seriously. But like I said, they proved to us last night, and they proved to all the haters out there that they're not rolling over. This is going to be a good effort from them. And clearly they have exposed that the Boston Celtics defense isn't quite the same as the Detroit Pistons. And I don't mean that to say the Celtics are, pathetic defensively. They're still a good defensive team, but Detroit was more physical. And like I said, we saw how Orlando was able to handle Boston's defense in that series. They had some competitive games, even though they lost in 5. The Knicks actually got over the hump. And also, they broke the Celtics' 9-game home winning streak in the playoffs last night. It felt like, David versus Goliath, and Goliath lost last night. That's what it felt like last night. The little engine that could is basically what the New York Knicks were last night. Everybody, the way that it was viewed, and everybody's like, yeah, boy, it's going to be really tough. I mean, it's like, Chris McMonagle. I'm going to attribute Chris McMonagle because I was listening to him last night driving home from work late night. Great analogy that he
Big
made
Mac.
here. Big Mac. That's right. Okay. The Knicks definitely went in there last night, and I'm sure they were thinking to themselves, they were probably channeling out all that hater noise. And as Big Mac put it, they're still NBA players. They're putting on the same shoes, the same clothing, the same, they're walking in there. It's 0-0. It's a series. It's not hasn't even started yet, and people were saying, "Oh yeah, it's all over,"
including us.
So, yeah, I mean, even me, who's like, a pretty big Knicks fan, and I'm thinking to myself, there's just I just can't see it. I mean, like, but yet, they proved us all wrong. They went in there and stole the game. And like I said, it's a good analogy to think about because the Celtics and the Knicks are lining up evenly. Game hasn't started, series hasn't started. It's always in the playoffs, it's always a new slate every day. And regular season basketball versus playoff basketball is significantly different. And I'm not saying that the Celtics aren't built for the playoffs. Of course, they've won 18 titles. They have the championship pedigree. We know that. And that's why they will bounce back in game two. We all know it's coming. Like, let's not fool ourselves. But the Knicks have made it clear that they're here and they're going to be able to at least compete in this series. And if the Celtics get caught sleeping going forward, the Knicks are clearly going to pounce on it like they did last night. And you could tell when the Celtics went up 20, they definitely eased off the gas a little bit. And you can't do that against the Knicks, and especially in today's NBA game when a 15, 20-point lead in the third quarter is like a 5-point lead, because that's just the nature of this game. There are runs back and forth the entire way. This is not college basketball where it's actually really hard to overcome a big deficit. In the NBA, it switches on a dime. And just the fact that game went from a 20-point deficit to an overtime win in a matter of, 45 minutes last night. I mean, because, like I said, I went from like, wow, this is a sad effort. I mean, I guess it's on to Wednesday.
It was after a competitive first quarter. Like, it was a 1-point game. And you thought, all right, they're hanging with them. And then the second quarter happens, and you're like, up, there it is. Yeah, this game's going to get out of hand.
It just goes back to that team effort that you've been talking about, Kenny, both of us. I mean, everybody had a fingerprint on that game last night.
What was your reaction to when Brunson missed that shot at the end of, pretty much at the end of regulation?
Well, I got up out of my chair with my hands over my head. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way that just happened.
And like I said, that was a great play design, too. They had it.
And all the Celtics fans were starting to chirp on Twitter, and everybody's like, yeah, well, it's a great series, guys. It's like, yeah. Well, that's what I felt like, too, because the Celtics definitely have performed in overtime games this season, but the Knicks haven't been too shabby either. But I just didn't see it because all the effort, all the energy that they poured out just to come back in the game, I was like, oh, God, it's just going to hit a wall now. The Celtics are probably going to get, like, three – they're going to get 3 Jason Tatum threes, and that's going to end it. But no.
I know. There was that 1 3 in the middle of the game. I forget when it was, when he was basically like almost at half court, and he just pulls up from 3 and he hits that. I'm like, they're not winning this game. They're not winning. But
yep.
And let's not forget, I wanted to bring this up, the Hack-a-Mitch. We didn't really talk about that. Oh, man, that was happening quite often. And it's just the Knicks were not great from the free throw line last night, and the fact they were still able to win again, it's just, I mean, you can't believe it. But that was very frustrating early on, where the Celtics were like, all right, we're just going to take a possession away from you, have your worst free throw shooter shoot a couple of free throws, see if he can beat us, and it's just, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch, and you feel bad for Mitch because obviously he wants to make them, he's trying, but he's just that bad at free throw shooting.
He's dreadful. I mean, for the season, I don't even think Mitchell Robinson was over. I think he was under 55% from the line this season. He's a dreadful free throw shooter. And I'm not going to fault the Celtics for implementing that strategy for a while, as annoying as it is. I mean, we're getting fouls every 10 seconds because it's like Derek White's like grabbing onto his jersey. He's like, hey, there was a point last night. I don't know if you remember.
Tatum was like Tatum was pointing at the ref,
yes,
right? Yeah.
Yes, as Brunson drives to the rim for an and one, and he gets fouled there. And literally, like, they're showing all the replays. And as Brunson's going by, Tatum and White are both like, hey, we're holding on to him. Yeah. It's like, it's hysterical. It's just like, but there's something about centers in the NBA and in all of basketball, really. Centers just cannot shoot free throws to save their lives. Only a select couple can. But, like, think about Giannis. Think about Jokic. Think about some of these top flight centers.
Jokic made a lot of clutch free throws down the stretch last night that helped them win.
And he did. Jokic is one of the better ones. But, even Giannis is a bit shaky. Like, there's Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, he missed those two. Yeah, that was the difference in the game. That was the difference in the game.
Yeah, so there's just something, though, about centers missing free throws, though. And Mitchell Robinson is one of the worst in the NBA. It's not even close.
And watching that Nuggets Thunder game last night and seeing Hardenstein out there and he's that lefty hook, I'm like, man, I missed that because he can actually score. That's the problem with Mitch. He really can't score either. So, he's a defensive guy, which, is fine, but it's just when you need him to score and he can't score, that's where you have a problem.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal. I mean, he made his impact on the boards last night, of course. Mm-hmm. He ended up with, 7 rebounds? I mean, he definitely had a couple big ones in the second half, part of that comeback. But, yeah, look, everybody's saying, oh, this is weak by the Celtics. Oh, this is such, this is disgusting. Like, why are they implementing this? It's like, if there's a loophole in the Knicks, it's Mitchell Robinson. So anytime he's on the floor, why not foul?
That's what teams used to do to Shaq, right? The Hack-a-Shaq.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Hack-a-Shaq, but now it's Hack-a-Mitch. And, this is where we are. It's just... It's a good strategy by the Celtics. As much as I don't personally like it, they're looking at the numbers and they're saying, well, this guy's disgusting at free throws. We're basically gonna, not let the Knicks score every time we foul Mitchell Robinson because if he makes one, it's just pure luck. So but that's another stat to look at that just makes you go, how did the Knicks win this game? Yes, Mitchell Robinson was a big part of the number. But they were 17 of 31 at the free throw line last night. Yeah, 54% from an NBA team. That's atrocious. Like, I think Mitchell Robinson was 3 of 10. So he was about a third of that. But still, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, the amount of Josh Hart was missing a couple of free throws. And
I think Brunson got fouled on a 3 and he missed one too, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, and I think OG missed 1 or 2 as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's just, it's another stat that makes absolutely in the NBA, especially like college, we expect those kids to miss 1 or 2 because it's like, well, they're bound to miss. In the NBA, it almost feels like we're counting them before they even go in. So,
well, not with Mitch.
Well, yeah, now that we know. With Mitch, we know it's like, all right, well, let's just pray one goes in, and then you watch that shot release, and it's like, oh, there it goes, it's in. It was kind of cringe with like every bounce on the rim. But look, as much as I'd like to look at it from the Celtics side and say, wow, we did kind of get lucky, there's just so many statistics that just skew toward the Knicks in this situation where it's just like, wow, it's like the fact that they were able to compose themselves and mount such an illustrious comeback with everything going, against them, down by 20, probably hanging their heads in that huddle, as Tibbs is saying, all right, guys, let's just keep fighting. It's just crazy the amount of effort that they poured out, and they found a way to win that game. Um, like I said, will they get that type of effort in game 2 and the rest of the series? That's going to be the next question too. It's like, can it carry over? The one thing for sure is that Karl Anthony Towns has to manage his foul situation. I mean, oh my goodness, like you can't pick up 3 fouls by the 10-minute mark in the second quarter, because that's why Tibbs had to sit him the entire quarter. I mean, and things started slipping away from that point on to the half, and it was just like, oh boy, it's like this is not good. I mean, even Charles Barkley said last night on the TNT halftime report that he's like, yeah, man, he's like, this team just can't beat him 4 times in a week. This just ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then
I
and he's
remember
like, he's like, look at this. He's like, you're putting Mitchell Robinson on Jason Tatum. That's just stupid basketball. And then it's like, well,
yeah, because Tatum hit that 3 over him. It's like,
yeah. Well, it was in the moment, and then of course in the second half, that all that stupidity just went right out the window.
Yep.
Because the Knicks found a way. So, like I said, I think if the Knicks have a checklist for game 2, it's keep Cat out of foul trouble, get more out of Mikal Bridges if you can, if possible, and honestly, if the Celtics are going to keep implementing Hack-a-Mitch, can't believe I'm saying this,
but are they going to just keep shooting threes, or are they going to also mix in, driving to the basket? Because they can definitely drive to the basket. You got Tatum, you got Brown. Why are you not doing that
Jason Tatum has been known to attack the rim, and the fact that he really didn't down the stretch of that game last night just baffled me. I mean, he's taking step-back threes.
And like I said, I said before, he hit that one where he's, it's basically half court almost. Yeah. I mean, he's ridiculous. He's so good. Where would you rank him quickly? Where would you rank him among the top NBA players? Would you say he's top 5? He's got to be top.
Jason Tatum?
Yeah. Top 5?
Definitely top 10.
Yeah.
Definitely top 10, but borderline
top 5. Okay.
Yeah. But and on the other side, I don't even think we really talked about it in depth as much. Just how insane is it to watch Jalen Brunson take over a game in the fourth quarter? That part just was dazzling last night.
Yeah, like Reggie Miller. Every time Reggie Miller, like when he hit that 3 to cut, I think it was to cut it to 81 to 73. He's like, here they come. Mm-hmm. And then later on in the game, he hits those 2 threes to put them up by 6. I mean, it's just, it really is unbelievable.
That was the one thing. It's like, okay, the Knicks are down 9 now after the third. It's like, okay, they're actually finally back in this game. It's like, and that's when Brunson takes over, because I think he has 3 threes during that part of the fourth quarter, I think. Yeah. Because it was 91-91. Hits the 3 to put him up 3, and then another one on the very next possession to put him up 6. And it's just like, oh my God, here comes the clutch player of the year. It's just unbelievable.
And it was also nice to hear from a broadcaster perspective, just hearing Kevin Harlan saying, his good, after a Brunson 3. It's nice to hear that.
I know. Kevin Harlan was in, peak postseason form. It's a real shame that we might lose him on NBA broadcast going forward, with TNT being out after this year.
Well, could he switch over to NBC possibly with them coming? But
I think supposedly Amazon is trying to go after him for their package.
Okay.
Yeah. And you talk about looking toward the future.
It's going to stink without TNT next year.
It is. It's going to be very bizarre. But have no fear. Inside the NBA is going over to ESPN and ABC.
That's right.
And don't worry. I want to get this out there, because I see all these people talking about, ESPN's going to kill Inside the NBA. Guys, TNT is still producing it. This is called a sublicense, where they produce the show and they put it on our network, ESPN, okay? ESPN's not touching this. It's going to be okay. Everybody calm down, because that's all I see on social media about, oh my God, Disney's going to ruin this. Oh my God, why they choose to be with ESPN? Oh my God, this guy is falling. It's like, oh gosh, it's just so annoying. It's like, Inside the NBA is here to stay. By the way, the podiatrist segment, if you haven't seen that yet, check it out, because it was hysterical last night. That was great. Anyway, off that tangent. Um, yeah, Jalen Brunson's clutch factor is just unmatched. That's why he was the clutch player of the year. So if if the Knicks and the Celtics are in these close battles going forward in the fourth quarter, it's going to be in the back of Joe Mazzulla's head that, how the heck are we going to contain Jalen Brunson? And that's why if the Knicks are able to, get those other guys involved, Anunoby, Bridges, Towns, if they can get those performances from everybody else down the stretch, if the Celtics, start double teaming Jalen Brunson, which I expect that's going to happen going forward. I think they realize that, oh my God, we really have to double team this guy the entirety of the fourth quarter, or else he's just going to take over. So that's why anytime the Knicks are in a close game, they're always, they're going to be there at the end. Like, they're not going to roll over. I mean, and the interesting part, Kenny, it was almost shades of game one against Detroit. The Knicks were down 8 after the third quarter, and they just exploded in the fourth quarter. Granted, there was no campaign last night.
No, there was no campaign at all. He was nothing last night. Nothing.
No. He played for, I think, like 7 minutes. I don't even know.
Yeah, and he was back on the bench.
Yeah, Tibbs was like, yeah, get out of here. But, it's just, it was crazy. It was shades of game one against Detroit, where the Knicks came alive in the fourth quarter and played the most impactful minutes when it mattered. And the Celtics were just hit blindsided like a bus. I mean, they just didn't know how to respond. I mean, the Knicks did a fantastic job in the fourth quarter and overtime, and they should feel so excited after that win. I mean, I know you don't want to celebrate too much, but just the nature. We can
celebrate a little bit. We can celebrate.
Exactly. Cut it loose, right, Tibbs? But the dynamic in a series in a game one is just, think about if Boston wins that game last night. Then today, all the talk shows are like, see, this is what we were talking about. Look at all these plays by Boston. They were overwhelming the Knicks. They got totally outplayed.
Not great from the free throw line, all that. Yep.
This is gonna be a quick exit. Now it's like, now the Celtics' mental belief has got to feel a little bit crushed after last night. Like, they're going to be feeling so much pressure in game two. Like, and whatever. If they go out and win the game by 25, which they might, then it'll all go away. But before they step on the court tomorrow, they're going to be feeling it. And they're going to be hearing it from Boston media. So, all the Celtics fans are like, it's okay. Celtics in 5, Celtics in 6. That's what they're saying now. But, we'll see what happens with that. But all I can say is A-plus game. That might have been the best game of the NBA playoffs last night, I think, arguably, even though there's been some good ones. I'm just so proud of the effort that the Knicks put out there collectively, just to really put a bow on this. We're repeating the same things, but this is what happened. Everybody had their impact. So many different guys showed out, and the Knicks were ready to respond to the punches that the Celtics were giving them in that third quarter. A lot of teams would probably have lost that game by 30 and just been like, you know what, we don't have it in us.
Especially when they were down 20, I was like, yeah, this game's over. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. They had, a couple of double-digit leads in the game against the Pistons. They blew both of them. I mean, they still won the game, and now it's like you're asking this team to come back down 20 against arguably the best team in the NBA, even though they're not the top-seeded team. It's not going to happen, but it happened. It happened, and it was a really gutsy win, and let's hope it carries over. Let's see. But I think we both agree that we're going to see a different Celtics team in Game 2, and I think we're going to see the series tied at 1-1 when we go back to the Garden. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, for sure, and it's on to Wednesday. Like I said, let's just see. Let's see what happens. I mean, if the Knicks can come out with an early, strike in game 2, and maybe they're the ones that can get up early. Now I want to see what can the Knicks do if they're the team that gets up double digits, which again I don't expect, but I just want to see how the Celtics adjust and what the Knicks are going to plan to do better in game 2, because even in a win like that, Tom Thibodeau definitely knows that there's still room to improve for game 2. There always is, even when you win. So it should be really interesting. Like I said, we have a competitive series on our hands. So everybody who was saying that the Knicks, are the season's over before the series started. It's like, might want to keep your mouth shut for one more game. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what happens tomorrow night. But yeah, that's pretty much all we got. Any final remarks before we wrap up here?
I mean, I think what we've said's really already been said.
Yep.
It's just a great team win, and it's on the game too. It's and if the Knicks go up 2-0, there's going to be pure elation going into Saturday at the Garden if that's the case.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, how about that? We got 2 episodes back to back days with the both of us. How about that? So
I think that might be a first.
yeah, in a long time. In a long time. Yeah.
A very long
Actually, I don't
time.
even know if ever because when we would do the radio shows at school, they'd be once a week. So yeah, this might be the first time we're doing shows back to back days.
This is a treat. I think maybe we might have more in the future.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And maybe if it's not the Knicks, we didn't get to talk about the Yankees. I will have a Yankees recap from last night's game coming out later today. So get into that whole debacle. The Giants, we'll have to talk. We'll have to do a Giants episode at some point. Talk about their draft and things like that. I know I wanted to get into that as well, but yeah, that is pretty much it though for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that, and hopefully we'll be back talking to you guys next time for another Knicks win potentially. But if not, we'll talk about whatever happens in Game 2, hopefully. But as always, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder along with Ben Upson signing off. Have a good one. We'll talk to you guys next time.